Growing up back in the early 2000s, yes, I know I'm old, the most successful games had a ton of commercials, and most of these commercials wouldn't even show any of the gameplay. So the only thing that would stick in your little baby brain was the game's title. And if the game ended up selling really well, then you could expect a sequel to that game. Thankfully, it wouldn't be that hard for video games to come up with a title to their sequels. Following the trend set by movies, they would just slap a 2 on the game and call it a day. The good times. I'm sorry. What the hell is this? For some reason, game developers have been a bit more, let's say, creative in their approach to naming video game sequels. And while a lot of games would still stick to the simple numerical system, some developers said, nah, screw that. Let's just make it slightly more confusing for fans. There's Ratchet & Clank, and then there's Ratchet & Clank Going Commando. Just slap a 2 on it, it would have been fine. So that's what I want to discuss today. Video game titles for sequels. And I want to point out some of the dumb trends, the worst offenders, and the ones that I think did it right. Those are the game developers that didn't give in to peer pressure. Shout out Final Fantasy, who are on their 16th installment and have no signs of changing this trend. Never change, Final Fantasy. Never change. Now, let's discuss, shall we? Call of Duty started off pretty normal. You had Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 3, with one little spin-off between that, which was Call of Duty 2, the big red one, which I give a pass because it's a spin-off, so who cares what it's called. And then we got Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. This game is a mega hit, so people expect this game to get a sequel, and it will probably be called Call of Duty 5. So when the next game came out, it was called Call of Duty World at War. So now from this point on, they wouldn't keep track of the actual numerical numbers of each Call of Duty, which is fine. You're allowed to do that, even movies do that, okay? But in case you're wondering, we're technically on Call of Duty 19. COD committed to the colon. It was Call of Duty, fill in the blank, Black Ops, Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare. And anytime there was a sequel to a specific franchise, then the numbers would come back. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3. You even got Call of Duty Black Ops 1, 2, 3, 4, and Cold War. They refused to count past 4. But where Call of Duty went a bit off the deep end is in their reboot, remake. It's not remastered because that's a different game. Anyways, they came in with a game title almost identical to COD 4, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Which is fine, if it's a reboot, you can do that, but then that game got a sequel, and it's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Which is a game that already exists. The only difference between the two games is that 1-2 looks like this, and the other 2 looks like this. I can't be the only one who's pissed off by this. Just come up with the newer, cooler name. Okay, so now Modern Warfare 3 has come out, and it's the exact same title as Modern Warfare 3. You wanna know the funniest part about it? For being a reboot of Modern Warfare 3, all the maps that they brought back that are being really hyped are all from the original Modern Warfare 2. You can't make this stuff up. It's so unreasonable. Unlike the prices of my merchandise, which is now 40% off. You can get this hoodie, this hat, shirts, all of it for way cheaper than you got it before. So if you're like, Macro, I want to buy your merch, but it's a little expensive. Well, not anymore, so what's your excuse? I won't lie, after making CS2 for Noobs last week, I was inspired by this franchise to make this video. CounterStrike doesn't have a long history of sequels, but they at least were consistent in their names. They would name their games CounterStrike, blank. Okay, I don't mind that because at least they're consistent, and consistency is key. There's CounterStrike, CounterStrike Condition Zero, CounterStrike Source, CounterStrike Global Offensive, and then their newest game, CounterStrike 2. They could have called it Counter-Strike Source 2, Counter-Strike Global Offensive 2, but no, just Counter-Strike 2. It's the 5th game! What's wrong with people? Funny enough, I was just praising Square Enix for their Final Fantasy series and just really sticking to the numerical system. But Kingdom Hearts saw that and said, F that. And before you come in and say, Macro, well, there's actually technically only 3 mainline games and all the other games are just spin-offs. No. Shut up. Normally, I'd agree that if a game is a spin-off, who cares what the title is? You can name it whatever you want. You can call it Kingdom Hearts Bacon Grease. But no other franchise has this many spin-offs that matter this much to the main story. They're basically mainline games. Anybody that wanted to try Kingdom Hearts right now and just play 1, 2, and 3 would be so confused because there's like 4 games between 1 and 2 and like 8 games between 2 and 3. And all of these games matter. But even these side games, they're titles. What is going on? 358 over 2? Why is this a math equation? Do yourself a favor. If you haven't played the Kingdom Hearts series, don't. Nintendo, you're not walking away from this unscathed. While most of their mainline games are all over the place with how they name their sequels, there could be numbers, it can be named after their console, there's really no rhyme or reason, except you, Mario Kart. You're alright. The one with the least consistent system of naming their sequels has got to be Smash Bros. The first one was Super Smash Bros. 64, which, you know, makes sense, it's being named after the console. So maybe the next one will be Super Smash Bros. Cube? Nope. Melee. What does that even mean? You meleeed people in the first one. Then the next game was Brawl. Sakurai, please, explain. But okay, at least it's kind of consistent. They're fighting terminology, so maybe the next game will also be a fighting terminology. The next one will be Super Smash Bros. Knockout, Super Smash Bros. Chokehold, Super Smash Bros. Suplex. I don't know, Sakurai, what's it gonna be? Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and 3DS. So we're back to naming it after the console. Okay, so that means that the next one has to be Super Smash Bros. Switch, right? Please say I'm right. I mean, it's not a bad name. Every now and then, a game would receive a reboot, kind of like the Modern Warfare thing we just talked about earlier. And that's one of the few times that I'm okay with them using the same title as their original game, even though it's still a little bit confusing, like Doom, Mortal Kombat, Ratchet & Clank, Tomb Raider. But then there's the God of War series. God of War, not to be confused with God of War, is not really a reboot. There's a lot of past elements from the last titles that stayed, and some elements that do matter. A reboot would normally follow like an original aged character, but no, this is an old Kratos. He's way past his days of the Greek mythology, and he's now in Norse mythology. This is more of a sequel than a reboot, so they could have just committed and called it God of War 4, which has a nice ring to it. But no, now we have God of War 2, God of War 3, and God of War. Ragnarok's nice at least. I think we can all blame Microsoft for really confusing our parents in the early 2000s. While Sony has been a good boy in naming their PlayStation just PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Simple, easy, short and sweet. Xbox was like, I'm not like other girls. And we end up with easily the dumbest and most confusing names for consoles ever. It's so bad, it makes Nintendo seem normal with their Wii and Wii U. Ugh. You got the Xbox, then the Xbox 360. Okay, so the next one will be the Xbox 720. No, it's actually the Xbox One. Okay, is the next one Xbox 2? No, it's the Xbox Series X, stupid. Not to be confused with the Xbox One X, which is a upgraded version of the Xbox One. The irony of all this is that Microsoft's flagship title, Halo, is actually pretty good at this. So now let's talk about Halo has made their names so straightforward that they deserve a little kiss. Hey, yo! You got Halo, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 4, Halo 5, and Halo Infinite, which I give it a pass. It's supposed to be the final game, and it's making a little bit of a comeback, so they only ever deviate off this titling sequence with spin-offs. You got Halo Wars, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo Reach, which I know a lot of you would be like, that's a mainline game, and it is, but technically it's a prequel, so spin-off. Halo is a good noodle, so Gold Star. Grand Theft Auto? Yes, I know there's Vice City and San Andreas, but I don't think anyone was ever really confused with Grand Theft Auto. The way that they name their games is a pretty decent job. Gold Star. Persona. Well, actually, a lot of JRPGs can fit this simple category. Gold Stars all around. Tekken, y'all made it very clear that Tekken Tag Tournament is a spin-off, and all the rest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now 8, are the main deal. So, Gold Star. Dark Souls. Gold Star. I'm not giving NBA 2K or FIFA a gold star because they're like one of the few games that just shouldn't even be sequels. They should just be updates, which we can talk about later in a different video, but like, no gold star for you. In fact, you're suspended. Get out of my class. Get out. The Legend of Zelda, you get a gold star for never using a number. It's not about the numbers. Like I mentioned before with CounterStrike, it's about the simplicity and the consistency. You could have called it Ocarina of Time 2, but instead it's Majora's Mask. You could have called it Breath of the Wild 2, but instead it's Tears of the Kingdom. You stick to the story that you want to tell. And honestly, that's the best way to do it. Gold Star. Look, at the end of the day, you can name your video game whatever you want. But if you want to help make your sequels a hit, really think before getting into these wacky titles. Sometimes simpler is better. A nice little number is less confusing, and most of the time it's an easier sell for consumers, since they know exactly what they're going to pay for. And me making fun of these bad naming trends of these game series isn't me saying that these game series are bad, except like Kingdom Hearts. Most of these games are huge hits and critically acclaimed, but I just want to get these random thoughts off my chest and express my personal and very oddly specific frustration with how stupid some of these video game title choices are. But what do you think? Which video game franchise names their games the best? Which game series is the worst offender? If there's some ridiculous game series that I didn't even mention today, please let me know in the comments down below. We as a society need to roast them in the comments. It's nice to just poke fun at these weird choices that they make. But with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.